Here's a really good tactic that you might not have seen on Prokhorovka before, guys. I'm going to show you in the even 90. Now, keep in mind this is really only a play that you can certainly make with the even 90. Doesn't mean you can't make it with other light tanks, but the even 90 is obviously going to be the best tank for making a play like this because of its small size and concealment. Now, we're going to be on the east portion of this map, and a lot of light tanks are going to go to the west, like the LT-432 did. He's in a fine spot over here, and he's going to end up, you'll see at the end of this video, how much he spots. I'm not going to spoil his spotting numbers for you guys, but it was pretty insane. Not the most insane I've ever seen, but insane. We'll just leave it at that. And you're going to come up to this bush, guys. This is it's a pretty easy spot to get to in the even 90, again, because of your concealment. But if you had an enemy light tank come running through like this, like I showed you in another Prokhorovka video recently, if you have another light tank try and come to this bush line, you're going to get spotted here. So just keep that in mind. I like to tell you guys everything that you might encounter. However, I've gotten here more than 50% of the time successfully in the even 90 when I do come to this area. I've probably only been to it maybe a dozen times in my hundreds of games on Prokhorovka, right? Because I usually like to go to the west, and especially if you're the only light tank, you want to be doing something like over here, right? You want to be on the west, or you want to be running the ridge line. However, I know the LT-432 was going over here, so let me try the east portion of this map. And this is what you can do. You can get to this bush line. We spotted the IS-2 coming along here. And then if you get people that poke here, like the Hawk 30 on the edge of the cliff, you'll also light them. Now, I'm in a situation where I'm realizing that there's actually not a lot going on here, and we have held these guys to this very edge of the cliff, right? Which is, I guess, somewhat usual, but the thing is, normally you have a lot of guys over here that are going to counter your mediums in this area here. And it looked like it was only the Emil. So what I'm actually going to do, and I'm going to pause this so I can kind of explain it to you guys, right? And let's even take a quick look at the drawing board, right, with this new tool. So you have a Hawk 30 here, you have this other vehicle here, or maybe vice versa, whatever, guys. The Hawk 30, keep in mind, has a good amount of view range. However, this is actually the Hawk 30 right here. What I am using to determine if I can make this play is basically the distance. The distance and just my own experience, right? The Hawk 30 is an average player, but even ignoring his XVM stats, because I don't like to base people's stats by XVM. My dad has like an 800 WN8, but his recent WN8 is like 2200 because I've taught him so well about certain things of the game, and also he's become a much better player himself. So just something to keep in mind, right? I wish they had a recent WN8 so I can determine, how good a player really is at this given time, because for instance, this guy could have 100,000 battles, and in the last 10,000 battles, he's played at a 2,000 WN8, and the first 90,000 battles, he's played at a 721, whatever. So hopefully that makes sense. Like, I really don't like to judge people based on their WN8s. But in any case, the Hawk 30 is here, and the play that he's making, right? Like, this is a really rare play for a light tank to make, to come into this bush. Like, I just feel like he's not that skilled, so I'm thinking that his crew is also not that skilled. So I decide to make this play. However, something important to note is, again, you're going to have all your mediums here on the map, and if you're looking at the mini map, right, where the Emil is right here behind me, like over here in this area, it's a terrible arrow, but I'll get better. Over here in this area on the other side, right, you're going to have these guys poking shots. They're going to have shots like this on your mediums, and your mediums, vice versa, will also have shots on the heavies and whatever that poke over on that corner right here on the map. I'm sorry, I can't really move the image when I'm drawing on it, but keep in mind that there's going to be crossfire here. So you want to be cautious about making this play, because if you get too close to the train tracks behind me, you're going to end up getting proxy lit by those heavies. So that's why I decide to kind of come around like this and then get as far towards the train tracks as I can, but past where the Emil is poking. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And now I'm coming this way. I'm going to get in this bush, and as I pull into this bush, I'm timid, man. Like because I want to make sure the Hawk 30 cannot spot me from here. And in fact, I'll go to my camera view, because I decide to look at his tank to determine how close I really was to him. And I'll explain some things about concealment after this, but I want to show you this real quick. And there's a guy in the chat that says the ball's on our ELC, and I said thank you. But look, we're 305 meters away from this guy, which is actually pretty dang close. 308, 309, could have been about 300 meters at the peak range, right? Or the closest range. So just note that, right? I have 51% concealment on this vehicle right now. I'm not running the Bounty low noise exhaust. I have 51.5% concealment on this vehicle. So I'll kind of calculate this for you later, but look at this area that we're in, guys. Like, this is almost broken. The Hawk 30 and the 274A now are permalit, and he knows it. He's gonna fly down the cliff because he knows he's in a bad area. He's gonna try and help the IS-2 over here. My IS-3 is beating apart this IS-2. The people up here and also the people here are getting shot. So that's another important thing to note, guys. I'm gonna show you that right now, actually. The people over in this area, so let me again go to my drawing board. Your heavies that might sit here, this guy's out a little far, but they have shots at people that are in this area, like this whole area, even like up to here and stuff. Until they get down into maybe this little ditch, you might not be able to hit them, but keep that in mind. Your teammates from right here, like all these guys, even the Scorpion G is probably out of render range, but they have shots going like this. So that's another thing I want to note. I really like to show you guys all the possible angles and crossfire and stuff like that so that you're aware of this. So now that I have these guys permalit, well, even my guy over here, the T69, might be able to have shots at these guys. So we're just going to absolutely bury this team because my LT432 also knows kind of what he's doing over here. And when you have two really good light tanks and a not so good light tank on the enemy team, a couple of light tanks, usually you're going to win on PROKHOROVKA. But I'm going to say this, and I always say this, I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I always say it, it's not 100%. Okay, you need to also have a good team to back you up, because there have been plenty of times, especially in a video you recently saw on PROKHOROVKA that I probably put out maybe a week ago. You could be really good in a light tank and still lose the game if your team is not going to kind of keep up with you, so to speak, right? And there's a video I actually did months ago where that was the case as well. I was running all over the map. I did like 5,000 spotting damage. Their light tank did next to nothing, and we still came out with a loss. So when you have a very, very passive team, it's not always going to be your fault, right? So don't always blame yourself. Like, I always blame myself every single game, regardless of the map, if we didn't get the win, if it was close, right? If it wasn't a stomp, I'm like, I could have done more. Because in a light tank, you have such good mobility, view range, and all that, that you think you can bring your team to victory, but it's not always the case, guys. So just keep that in mind. Even the best players, like the best of the best players, have like maybe 63, 64% win rates, right, in total. So I want to note that, like, don't get discouraged, okay? So LT432 and I absolutely did what we needed to do here, and I'm going to show you the M plates for this game. But first, I want to just calculate it on my phone. Let me pull up these M plates real quick, guys. Actually, we're gonna have to close this out because I didn't open the M plates. So let's get them right here. And then quickly on my phone, I wanted to do some calculations for you guys, right? And this might be very technical and analytical, but what I want to do, right, is I stated that it was about 300 meters away, right? So if you do the maths and you don't take into account Commander's vision system, which reduces your concealment on the move, like if you are spotting someone and they're currently moving, you reduce their concealment even more, and you'll also reduce people's concealment if they're sitting behind bushes when you use Commander's vision system. That's why I run Commander's vision system on everything, guys, and I run it in the scouting slot. This is a really important tip that I feel like a lot of people don't know about light tanks. Run the CVS, guys. Run the CVS in the scouting slot, stick your optics in the second slot, and then your third slot. Like if you guys even want to run vents or whatever, run it in the third slot. I run low noise exhaust, but this is how you need to set up your light tanks if you want to play specifically to the light tank role. CVS, optics, low noise exhaust. Just trust me on this. You know, some really, really good players might stick vents in there or whatever. They can get away with it, but I'm telling you, for 99% of players, this is going to be the best setup for most light tanks on most maps. If you get a city map, then you can have something like vents and rammer, right? But take a look at this, guys. It's actually pretty simple maths, right? I know you can't see my concealment here, but on the even 90, it's 51.5%, right? So let's just say that this guy has 450 view range, and we multiply that by about 0.50, right? And that would mean that he wouldn't spot me until 225 meters. So this is some quick maths you can do. Now, obviously with CVS, it gets way more complicated, but this is just something to keep in mind, right? Now, imagine he does have CVS and he has 500 view range. Well, that would take my concealment down based on CVS another 10%. If he has it in the scouting slot, it'll take it down another 12.5%. So I'm not going to sit here and do all these calculations for you guys, but you can understand kind of where I'm going with this. You can use this strategy, right, to kind of math out your concealment and math out what distance you'll be spotted at, and eventually you'll start to pick it up and go, if I go here, I probably won't be lit, especially if it's not light tanks, right? People in heavies that usually don't run optics, like if you're in the even 90 and you have 50% concealment, they probably are not running optics. Maybe they have, at the absolute most, max view range is probably less than that, 410, 420. And then you can do the maths and you're like, these guys won't spot me till like 200 meters away at the absolute most, right? So just something to keep in mind for you guys. And as you continue to do this, you'll start to pick up where you think you might be spotted, where you think you might not be spotted, etc. So hopefully that helps you out, and I hope this helps you out on PROKHOROVKA, guys. This wasn't a great game for me, but the LT-432 absolutely annihilated this enemy team with spotting damage, right? So we got a third class, 1585 spotting, 408 damage. This was the team score, 408. I'm in the middle here, kind of. Look at our LT-432, man. So Scorpion had a really good game, so he probably did have some crossfire maybe on the hill. And yeah, I mean, this team just played really well. Our team was way better, guys. This is not a rare occurrence, but it's a rare occurrence on PROKHOROVKA, in my opinion, for the game to be this fast, right? We had a 5-minute, 8-second battle. So, I mean, this was a lightning quick battle because both light tanks going to each side and just spotting everybody, like it, you know, it was a GG, I like to call it. So again, here's my total score, guys, and look at this LT-432, man. 8,369 spotting. He got this badge here. I hope that this was a mastery for him, but the LT-432 is pretty hard to get a mastery badge on, so he might not have. And look, he only fired one shot for a total damage of 184. On these maps, don't be worried about your damage, guys. You got to play to the light tank role and do spotting. Right, there might come a time where you actually have to start using your gun if the game gets close, but what we were doing to this team, neither of us even had to fire our gun once, to be honest with you, to win this game, and we probably still would have won it within the same time frame anyway. So that's it. I hope this helps you out, guys. If you like this content, do sub. It helps me out, and if you want to help out other people, you can like the video and comment and all that. That does help me out, but it helps the video get recommended more. That's the way the YouTube algorithm works, and I want everyone to see this because I want to give you guys as much information on light tanks as I can, because they're a very, very tricky class to play, and I want you guys to be more comfortable. So that's all, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Take care, and I'll catch you for the next one. Bye-bye.